Hey folks, this is Chris Cancel from The Drive. We're live with Ducati's Federico Sabbioni on the launch of the Ducati Scrambler Desert Sled. That's right behind us. We're in Spain, and we're having a fantastic day.
Yeah,
the weather's beautiful.
Fantastic.
And Federico's going to show us around and talk us through what's new on this Ducati Scrambler Desert Sled. So I'm going to turn the camera around.
So the new Scrambler Desert Sled, a fantastic new bike, brand new. It's just the engine in common with the Scrambler rest of the family, which is the 800cc 2-valve air-cooled engine. We moved to Euro 4, making a new job in terms of tuning and calibration of the engine. We added the canister, which is the other legal component to meet the Euro 4, which is very well hidden below this cover. That makes even the bike symmetric with respect to the cover of the oil cooler on the left side, being it more muscular, okay, in the front view. So we confirmed the performance, 75 horsepower. We didn't lose any horsepower, meeting the Euro 4 specification. Then we did a great job on the chassis, because the mission profile of this vehicle was, for the first time in the Scrambler family, really off-road oriented. So this bike is the evolution of the urban enduro, but it becomes a real enduro bike. Okay, so we worked a lot on the frame. You can appreciate that we added this pipe, which is a reinforcement that was missing on the previous Scrambler, and this forged components, which is present even on the other side, of course, which continues the frame till the swinger and pivot and the low engine fixation points. So now the engine is no more, or not so any more stressed element of the chassis like it was before, and this results in a structure which is more oriented to convey with the loads and the stress of the off-road use of the bike. Okay,
and I thought that was a really interesting thing. We learned about this. I've been out riding this thing in the dirt all morning, and yeah, and taking the load off the engine, shifting it all down here to the swing arm pickup point is a really interesting engineering project.
Yeah.
So you've made the chassis, the frame, much stiffer, right?
Definitely, much stiffer and stronger, because in off-road you need more, it has to be more strong in order to face higher load, impulsive loads. So it's not only or not mainly a matter of stiffness, but it's mainly a matter of strength. Okay?
So you're saying impulsive loads, you're talking about jumps. You're talking about that big, big bounce. You're not talking about stiffness for the sake of performance on the road or stability, because the Scrambler already did a pretty good job of that. It was already a very nice bike on the road. I'd say nicer, on a good twisty road than anywhere else.
It was definitely. So we tried not to lose any of the road ability, the road riding pleasure that this bike has maintained, but at the same time adding real off-road capability, okay, which is made basically on the reinforcement of the structural parts. So not only the frame we discussed, but also the swinger, which is longer and stiffer, the triple clamps, which are even bigger because we have increased the offset up to 30 millimeters. So all the structural parts of the chassis has been made stronger. Then, of course, to do really the off-road, you also need ground clearance and generous wheel travel. So we adopted adjustable suspension, bigger front fork, 46 diameter, and a new shock absorber with the remote reservoir that was needed in order to reach the travel. We needed to have 200 millimeters wheel travel. Okay, and in this fixing interaction it was not possible to fit a shock with such a travel with the reservoir mounted on the top. Okay, and then it would also have been probably a problem of ergonomics, because you would have felt it with your left leg. Okay, yeah. So we decided for this particular layout solution. Then at the front, a Kayama 46 upside down fork, which is fully adjustable. So suspension which guarantees 200 millimeters wheel travel both at the front and at the rear, and that offers plenty of adjustment possibility. Of the things that the job we wanted the bike was able and consistent to do, which it was not possible to be done and to be executed with the original components. So we really took one by one and thought very seriously which of them could be could be possible to be left on the bike or to be made stronger or stiffer or with more potential adjustments, whatever. Okay?
Yeah, yeah.
The same was for the ergonomics, because all the ergonomics have been revised. Now you have, because the seat is higher, because all the bike is higher, but we try to contain the seat height in 860 millimeters, working a lot on the crotch area, making it as much narrow as possible in order to touch safely the ground with your feet, even after having raised up the bike. Then the handlebar is new, it's higher, clearly. It has a position in between the clamps, which is, in our opinion, a good compromise for the standing and sitting ready position. Also, the foot pegs have been raised, of course, together with bike, but less than the seat. So this distance have been increased, and this results in a lower effort when you move from the sitting to the standing and to the sitting again, because you have to face continuous, as the test you have made today, no?
Yeah.
Continuous alternation of road and off-road. This was the meant for which the bike was thought.
So my experience today riding this thing, I'm not a very tall guy, but I've got long legs. And there's a big difference riding this thing between this and your Scrambler that's been out since, what, 2014 or so.
You're right. A positive effect of all this ergonomic job, which was mainly, as I told you, focused on, let's say, making the ergonomic more suitable for the enduro. Another positive effect was that now the ergonomic of the rider is more, let's say, suitable for taller rider. So the bike is bigger in every dimension. Okay, it's more comfortable for taller rider that can feel more at ease on the seat respected to an Icon or to an urban enduro that has basically the same dimension of the Icon. So this is really really new bike, really with a lot of difference.
Yeah, it really does feel like a ground-up thing. And we were talking about earlier. Again, if you're just joining us, we're coming to you live from Spain on the launch of the Ducati Scrambler Desert Sled. This is the Desert Sled in front of us. We're here with Federico, who is the project manager for this thing. He's showing us around, and we're talking about how different this thing is from the existing Scrambler, which we've all, kind of come to enjoy as a. I don't want to call it a throwback. It's a very modern motorcycle, but in terms of ethos, it's a throwback. It's a bike that's good at everything. Yeah. A bike that's enjoyable if you're taking it for coffee, if you're taking it for a long ride, if you're taking it to little two-track off-road. It's a good, comfortable machine.
Correct.
This thing takes those capabilities and it adds a whole lot more.
Yeah.
It adds a lot more engineering and strengthening. It adds a whole lot more suspension. I really like the suspension setup just how it is.
Good.
And it also adds new wheels.
Yeah, new wheels, dedicated measure. 19, of course, couldn't miss at the front, 19 inches, and 17 at the rear. But more than the wheels that were already available in spoked rims for the other Scrambler, for the Urban Enduro, for example, it's the tire that makes the difference.
Yeah,
so in this bike, together with Pirelli support, we developed this Scorpion Rally STR. This is the name of the new tire, which is some kind in between the Scorpion Rally that keeps the multi-enduro, for example, in our motor range, and the MT60 RS, which is the road-oriented tire, which is just the threat. Purpose tire, which performs, in my opinion, greatly on the asphalt, giving a great confidence. At the front, for example, you can appreciate that you have a thread which is really inspired to the off-road, but there's many very small threads. Okay, so it's very full. Let's say.
There's plenty of surface area.
Plenty of surface. Okay.
And you notice that immediately when you take this bike out riding. I mean, it's a very, very competent bike on tarmac, even if the tarmac's got a little bit stones.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's for me, not being an especially experienced off-road rider, that's where this bike came into its own. It's got those big bars, so there's lots of leverage.
Very
the
controllable.
bars on this thing are fantastic. Yeah, it's a good bike for if maybe your second bike.
Yeah,
I think this is a fantastic option because these big bars give it a lot of leverage. So you can just dance all over the top of this thing and really enjoy the feeling of that leverage, of the grip from the tires, and you've got the torque of a V-twin engine, and that's sort of what it's all about, isn't it, Federico?
Thanks.
So yeah, just a couple more things we'll show you. There's one of the things Ducati's been fantastic about for years and years is all of these little details. So you'll notice the headlight guard, which is homologated, right?
Yeah, now it is. Now
So,
it is. You can appreciate it as a new design. It used to be an accessory till last year.
So there's this little X here.
Yeah, exactly. That recalls the logo, but now the surface of the lens, which has been left free from the grid, is sufficient to meet the homologation. And so the grid protects and makes it more recognizable, more iconic. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being absolutely full legal.
So you've got all of these little, these details which stay the same across the bike. It's a really nice thing that Scrambler, in particular, of all the Ducati stuff, does. And then they got all these great little details.
Yeah.
You got Born Free written onto the filler cap.
1962.
Just in case you need a reminder. And what about the instruments? They look pretty similar to me.
Yeah, the instruments is the same of the other Scramblers. Very iconic, small but rich in information.
Yeah. And it's a color dash.
Pretty
right?
readable. Yeah. It's an LCD.
You can just turn it on.
Yeah.
There you go.
Very readable, even
it is.
below the sun. We are fully under the sun now, so you can appreciate how
absolutely
how clear it is. And a number of other components. We have made, let's say, a refinishment job. For example, the final muffler. Okay, the two small cannons that are the tail muffler. Basically, in terms of hardware, let's say they are the same of some other Scrambler. The full throttle or the flat track has already adopted the solution, but redesigned the cover in terms of shape in order to be not an obstacle for the heel. Okay, and also in terms of design with these holes, so to make it more characteristics of this specific version.
It's a good solution. It's a good. I'm not going to call it a cheat because it's a smart engineering solution. But if you look at this thing, you would think the pipes come straight down into these two badass little, little guys right here. These two exits, but actually there's quite a big canister.
Really
blended. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
And so we thought these two accessories were worthwhile to promote and to let you guys test them in this very particular situation.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so there you go. There's your typical factory installed foot peg, and then there's your accessory foot peg.
Appreciate that you can remove the
that's a big deal too.
Which is
that drove me crazy with the Monster because your foot was always bumping into that thing.
And
you too? You know what I'm talking about?
You cannot.
This is nice. Yeah. So a little, just a couple little hex. Yeah. Just a couple little hex bolts hold you from pulling that thing straight off. A nice little setup, and it's a very comfortable bike. It's for exclusive dirt use, it's heavy.
Yeah.
That's the of course that's the trade-off.
Okay, that's of course a consequence of all the reinforcement we have mentioned. Okay, so adding these parts and this pipe to the frame, you add some kilos, roughly 3 point something. The swing arm is longer. All the suspension are bigger, bore, and longer. You have new triple clamps which are stiffer and bigger. So adding components and making them coherent with the mission profile was a natural consequence to have. But I think that limiting this weight increase in something around 13 kilos respect to the urban is not bad. It finally is 191 kilos dry, 207 with full 90%, not actually full, but carb weight. So it's a pretty light enduro bike.
Yeah. It gets a lot less light when you spend all day picking it up. That's what my day was like. I spent a lot of. We were in very, very soft sand. We got a bunch of rain here in Spain before we showed up, and I spent a lot of time in that soft sand, that freshly churned soft sand, just digging in my shoulders and lifting this thing. She's a big girl when you lift her more than once, but for most use, this is coming really close to the, like almost a 50-50 bike. Right, a bike where you'd be pretty comfortable. You wouldn't want to take it down like single track and stuff. It's not a dirt bike, but if you're going camping, if you're going out and having a good time with your friends, it's there. It can hustle down a back road, and
we may say it's the current times desert sled. No, so the desert sled bikes were taken from your motorcyclist culture, so you will know more better than me.
Yeah, well, it's a very American thing, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, very American thing. This is our reinterpretation, our idea, contemporary idea of that kind of bike, which offers you exactly the possibility of doing a number of things in your spare time on tarmac or even off-road.
Yeah, of course. And when we talk about desert sleds, I always think about old British bikes mostly, like old BSAs, you know, like something without a kickstand, so you just lean it up against a fence post and forget about it till the next time you go riding. But you know, from Spain with the Ducati Scrambler Desert Sled, and we're going to wrap it up. Thanks all very much for watching.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.